Now at 9, Joplin school buses get a perfect score. Find out how other districts fared.
I have residents reacting on the new 69 corridor. I'm Lonnie Walton in Pittsburgh. I'll have that story coming up.
President Trump is challenging the legality of documents signed by Joe Biden while in office. I'm Rebecca Castor in Washington with more on the investigation into the former president's health decline.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The Joplin School District gets the green light to keep going after the Missouri State Highway Patrol's 2025 annual inspections. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The district earned a perfect 100% approval rate on its 71 school buses, proving the wheels on the bus go round and round safely all year long. This top score reflects Joplin's dedication to keeping student transportation safe and reliable. Other area districts also performed well, including Carthage with 98.2% approval, Neosho schools at just over 96%, and Lamar with 90%. Across Missouri, troopers inspected more than 11,000 school buses to ensure safety for children statewide. For a full list of inspection results, you can visit our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, it was day 2 of open house meetings with KDOT, where Crawford County residents got a glimpse of final plans for the Highway 69 corridor, and the community is reacting. The changes will impact drivers from Highway 400 north to Arma. KOAM's Lonnie Walton caught up with residents at the Homer Coal Center in Pittsburgh, where they were checking out the new renderings.
I spoke to several residents who say they're very excited about the changes coming to Pittsburgh, but some aren't.
Yeah, so we don't like the no light. It's inconvenient for us.
Mike and Sharon Harrison live in Pittsburgh. They say the new changes to Highway 69 may be a headache for them.
Come out of South Olive and go on the bypass. We turn left to go out to the mall corner and go to the lab and the doctor's offices in the mall. We can't turn left and do that, which is the closest way for us.
Aaron Perskowski is a KDOT engineer. He says changes came from the public's input in previous open house meetings.
To improve safety, improve mobility through the corridor, and those were our 2 high priority items that we've heard from the public.
Some residents say KDOT did a good job listening.
I think what they've done is listened to the general public very well, and I think they've responded to what they've heard.
It's only going to bring business to me. So
what they're doing in there, they're doing a whole lot, and Southeast Kansas ought to be real pleased with how the state's trying to help us.
Another resident is fine with the changes, but also happy that other things will stay the same.
We're going to be able to use the existing 69 bypass, because I think that keeps people coming to town as well as going through town.
Some other folks who spoke to off-camera expressed concerns of location of their businesses or questioned whether some of these changes would actually work. And even though not everyone is on board, some still understand the need for change.
I understand the safety, I do.
And I spoke to some residents who said they have to get used to the new changes. Reporting in the 4 states, I'm Lonnie Walton, KOAM News.
And there is another virtual meeting tomorrow where KDOT will present the final plan, and we'll have all of those details and plan images at KOAMnewsnow.com. Meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney joins us now with a first look at weather.
Well, temperatures are now dropping down into the lower 70s, and you can see the skies finally cleared up a little bit, so we got to see a sunset before we see all those storms start to roll in. Now it is still a little hot and muggy outside, but we are under a flood watch as these storms start to roll in tonight. And you can see flood watch, central counties and south, a couple of flood warnings along rivers in the 4 states as well. Now we're watching as some storms want to push into the area. However, they haven't quite made it yet. We've still got a pretty stable air mass over. We've had a lot of cloud coverage today, which is a good thing, but you can see widespread isolated storms popping up in central parts of Oklahoma and out in western parts of Kansas. Now, all of these are going to continue to push into the area over the next couple hours, closer to about 11 p.m. to midnight, but the severe threat really ramps up by 3 a.m. I'm going to have all those details coming up.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Cancer survivors and their loved ones gathered at Mercy Cancer Center in Joplin today for an afternoon of celebration, community, and reflection. The healthcare provider hosted its annual Cancer Survivors Picnic, a chance to honor those who have fought or are still fighting cancer, alongside the medical teams who have stood by them throughout their journey. Survivors shared their stories of diagnoses, treatment, and recovery while enjoying a picnic lunch with family, friends, and caregivers.
By having support groups here, by having your doctors and your nurses and your caseworkers, they all are here to answer any questions that you have. It is a hard journey, but with lots of love and lots of prayers, you will get through it.
And to add to the fun, there was a raffle for various prizes, bringing even more smiles to an already heartfelt celebration. Well, the saying goes, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. For one 7-year-old cancer survivor in Missouri, that statement touches close to home. As Amya Henry reports, the family looks to do just that with an actual lemonade stand.
This is Rhian here right before she acquired cancer. Happy, very beautiful girl.
A daunting diagnosis of rhabdomyosarcoma leaves a tumor at the back of 8-year-old Rhian's ear.
She had really bad headaches, extremely bad hole in her head, saying her head hurts real bad in her ear. And she couldn't have anybody talk in the room. Even just a whisper, she would say, "Don't talk."
Single grandfather Pat Telgo, already responsible for 3 children, is met with a new beast to tackle.
I mean, she doesn't have her mom. My grandpa's like the only parent figure she has right now.
The hardest thing dealing with this is she does ask me to save her life. Don't let her die.
But as the saying goes, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And with the sour accumulation of hospital bills and appointment travel expenses, Rhian and her family took the initiative to raise the money on their own with a lemonade stand.
We need to raise some money, being out of work, and to help her all the expenses.
Although some days are hard, Telgo holds on knowing that spunky, energetic girl is still inside of her.
There's days of the week that it don't look like she's going to make it through the night. She's sunken face, tired, sickly. But then she responds a few days later and is like this, happy and cheerful.
Doctors say the tumor has vanished, but cancer cells remain. Along with monetary support, Telgo says he is most in need of prayers.
A lot of prayers, more than anything, the prayers.
The family has another bake sale and fundraiser planned for sometime next week. Well, coming up, overseas challenges.
President Trump is making a big push to end the wars in Ukraine and Gaza, but it won't be easy. I'm Lucas Tomlinson in Washington. I'll have the details coming up.
But first in Health Watch, the early signs of Alzheimer's you need to know to protect your loved one.
Well, we have another round of potentially severe storms as we head into the overnight hours. Now taking a look outside downtown Joplin from the Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. You can see we did have a little bit of a break in the clouds late this afternoon, so it wasn't all day, which is a good thing. It means we didn't get the chance to have a lot of surface heating, though it doesn't mean we still won't see severe weather. There is still a higher potential for some storms as we move into this evening. But again, the highest risk is out in western parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, though we are still seeing that clip of a slight risk in our area, specifically out there in southeastern Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma, though our central and southern counties in that level 1 out of 5 risk. Now, storms starting by about 11 p.m., continuing until the early morning hours, mainly a wind and rain threat with some potential for hail, but can't rule out a tornado or two possibility as we head into this evening. Now, we are under a flood watch for our central and southern counties, and a couple of those rivers are still under flood warnings for the next couple of days, so we're going to keep an eye on that. Now, currently, we've got mostly clear skies, especially out on the Kansas and Oklahoma side, but storms are going to start to push into this area. We've got some widespread isolated thunderstorms, already seen a few of these. Taking a look out there in western parts of Texas, it's right moving supercells. That's what we've been watching for all night, are these isolated storms that are going to turn to right moving supercells, can easily produce a tornado. Now, by the time it gets to our area, we're mostly looking at it becoming more of a linear system, which means just a long line of storms versus those isolated storms where we see the higher threat. Then as we head into Friday morning. Those storms do continue until about 7 to 8 in the morning, so we're not quite out of the woods yet. That's why we have that slight risk set for Friday as well. Central and southern counties right along where our flood warning is, or flood watch is. Now we also have another round of storms coming in Friday night as well, in addition to these storms this morning. Now, like I said, by midnight, storms are going to start to push in. They turn into this line of storms instead of the isolated supercells that we could see in the western states. Now, as it pushes in, we have a lot of flooding risk out in southeastern Kansas, so that's going to be concerning with how much rainfall that they could get with the system. But the initial part of that storm moves in around 3 to 3:30, where we see the higher risk for those storms, and we could even get an isolated storm right ahead of that line, which is what I want to watch out for, because that guy wants to push all the way up to just south of Joplin, right along I-44 through Miami and up to southern parts of Joplin area. But then that line pushes in and then pushes it out towards the east, and that's a good thing. But that's about 7:30 in the morning. We're still seeing that line in some of our southwestern Missouri counties. So we want to keep an eye on that. We do clear out with another round of storms moving in later in the day on Friday and into Saturday morning, where we could see an additional 1/4 of an inch of rain to 5 inches of rain by Saturday morning. So we've got 2 more rounds of storms tonight into Friday morning, and then again Friday night into Saturday morning. After that, we're just looking at some garden variety thunderstorms, but we've got to make it through these 2 days first.
Did you call it garden variety thunderstorms?
Yeah, I just said those your old regular old thunderstorms. No,
the ones where they don't kill your plants, they don't break them over, but you don't have to water the next day.
Exactly.
That's what we like.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, happy birthday, Galena, Kansas. The oldest mining town in the state is celebrating nearly a century and a half since it was founded in 1877. KOAM's Anthony Saviello was there and fills us in on what we can expect to see this weekend.
Well, here on historic Route 66, right here, that's the street that we're talking about. You can see Galena Days is well underway, the 148th celebration of the city of Galena. That's its 148th birthday. So whether you're riding rides or filling up on food, stopping by local vendors, it doesn't matter. This place is flooded with thousands of people, not just today, but throughout the entire weekend. And with that comes a little bit of safety concern. But after speaking with the chief of police of Galena, he says that is going to be... Well, here on historic Route 66, right here, that's the street that we're talking about. You can see Galena Days is well underway, the 148th celebration of the city of Galena. That's its 148th birthday. So whether you're riding rides or filling up on food, stopping by local vendors, it doesn't matter. This place is flooded with thousands of people, not just today, but throughout the entire weekend. And with that comes a little bit of safety concern. But after speaking with the chief of police of Galena, he says that is going to be well taken care of.
We'll have foot patrols inside the event itself. You know, it's a family event, so we want people to be able to come out, feel safe, and have a good time celebrating Galena Days. We're here. I mean, the police station is located right here. The fire station is right here. So all of our, and plus we'll have Cherokee County Sheriff's Department guys here, reserve deputies here. So we'll have a lot of people in place for something if something were to happen. Like I said, you bring a lot of people into a small area and you just want everything, you know, everyone to feel safe and be safe, and I think there's no reason to expect that it won't be.
So whether you're filling up on cotton candy or stopping by a local vendor to see some of the handmade goods, or maybe you just want to sit and listen to some local music, doesn't really matter. Galena Days has all of it, and rest assured that the chief of police and local law enforcement are doing everything they can to keep you and your family safe. Reporting in Galena, Kansas, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
Thanks, Anthony. Well, if you missed out on the fun today, events run through Saturday. Well, coming up, Playing with Power.
3, 2, 1. Nintendo held parties in New York City and San Francisco before the release of their Switch 2 console. I'm Eamon Dignam, and I was there at the New York location to check out the Jamboree.
Nintendo's Switch 2, the company's first new console in 8 years, hit shelves today, and folks have been lining up for days. Fox's Iman Digman has more in this edition of our Fox on Games series.
The Nintendo Switch 2 is now out, with 21 games in its library, new mouse-like controllers, and new accessories like a webcam to go with them. In New York City, scores of fans waited, some for months, for the doors to open. And Fox on Games was there the night before release when Nintendo showed off the console.
It's been 8 years of Nintendo Switch, and it's ultimately all led us to this moment where we can debut a new system with you, where we can now play all together, anytime, anywhere.
The Switch 2 is available alone or with pack-in game Mario Kart World, the first open-world Mario Kart game, with new styles of races, courses, and new characters for fans young and old. Among other highly anticipated new games, Toby Fox's sequel to indie darling Undertale will be fully playable. In Deltarune, an anagram of Undertale, Chris and Susie are on a quest to seal the dark fountains prophesized to end the world. Like its predecessor, encounters can be solved through violence or peacefully. And the Game Awards nominee for Game of the Year, Split Fiction, is also making a splash. The couch co-op game follows two writers, one science fiction and one fantasy, who become trapped in their own stories and have to work together to escape. The good news, you'll still be able to play most of your Switch 1 games on the new console. For this story and more, check out the latest Fox on Games podcast, available everywhere you listen every Wednesday morning. In New York, Eamon Dignam, Fox News.
Well, Hawaii's Mount Kilauea is erupting again. The United States Geological Survey says Mount Kilauea is one of the world's most active volcanoes. It began erupting today, and lava was seen spewing out it began yesterday and began spewing out through today at Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park. Mount Kilauea has been sporadically erupting since December. The Department of Agriculture is urging Americans to check the ground beef in their fridge or freezer. It's a warning that some 1-pound packages of organic rancher ground beef could be contaminated with the deadly bacteria E. coli. The meat was sold at Whole Foods locations nationwide. The alert impacts products with use or freeze-by dates of June 19th and 20th. Well, Amazon is betting big on North Carolina, announcing a $10 billion investment there to expand its cloud computing and artificial intelligence infrastructure. The tech giant claims the move will also create at least 500 jobs. In addition to the data centers, Amazon says it will invest in bringing STEM training and education programs to the local communities. Up next, Neosho students get hands-on experience with healthcare careers at MASH Camp. We take you there. Middle school students in Neosho, Missouri got a hands-on look at healthcare careers today, thanks to a special program at Freeman Health System's East Campus. It's called MASH Camp. From stethoscopes to scrubs, it's a real-world glimpse into the medical field.
People get sent home from the hospital and they have to be able to do those activities of daily living. So that's what the therapists are working with, helping them do that. So this kind of mimics some of those things you would teach someone.
The students also took part in a mock physical therapy session. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Trump orders a probe into Biden's staff over presidential actions, and Biden pushes back. And President Trump meets with Germany on Ukraine and Gaza. Find out what's next for Peace Talks.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Former President Joe Biden is making it clear he made the decisions while in office. This as President Donald Trump and his allies ramp up their investigations into the use of the auto pen and whether Biden's staff did things without his consent. Rebecca Castor has more from Washington.
Essentially, whoever used the auto pen was the president. And that is wrong. It's illegal.
President Trump is now ordering his White House counsel to investigate whether President Biden's staff was using an auto pen without his knowledge to sign important documents. It's a machine that can replicate a person's signature, and it's legal for presidents to use. But Republicans want to know if Biden knew what was being signed, as questions over his health during his final days in office grow.
We've identified the 4 staffers that we believe were the ones who actually took the documents and placed them in the auto pen, pressed power, and had Joe Biden's signature magically appear on these. We want to know who gave them the authority to do that.
House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer has requested interviews with those staffers as well as high-ranking Biden officials. Much of the scrutiny is on a number of last-minute pardons that appear to be signed by AutoPen, except for his son Hunter's, which appears to be signed by hand.
The idea of focusing on President Biden is a way of distracting from Donald Trump's efforts to completely undermine our democracy.
Former President Biden also calls it a distraction, saying in a statement, "Let me be clear, I made the decisions during my presidency. I made the decisions about the pardons, executive orders, legislation, and proclamations. Any suggestion that I didn't is ridiculous and false."
These are the political stunts that Americans are fed up with.
President Trump was asked in March if he's ever used an auto pen as president. He said he had, but only for a few very unimportant papers. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Well, President Trump met with his German counterpart today with the wars in Ukraine and Gaza high on the agenda. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson has more from Washington.
That's a bloodbath that's going on over there.
President Trump met with his German counterpart at the White House on Thursday, with the war on Ukraine high on the agenda. On Wednesday, the president spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin, pushing him to get back to the bargaining table. Putin signaled Thursday that won't happen anytime soon. But President Trump says there's still time to make a deal.
Sometimes you see 2 young children fighting like crazy. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart.
The meeting came just hours after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spoke to NATO allies in Europe. Hegseth skipped the meeting focused on getting more weapons and ammo to Ukraine, and now he's pushing NATO members to increase their defense spending to do it.
There has been a total commitment by the US to NATO, but also this expectation that European and Canadian allies will step up spending.
At the same time, President Trump is struggling to get momentum on a new Gaza ceasefire, and the humanitarian situation is deteriorating. Aid distribution remains suspended following days of violence near sites controlled by a U.S.-backed charity group. Israel says the reports of civilian deaths are not true and part of a Hamas propaganda campaign.
It's undermining the objectives of the war, but it's also probably will make the war longer.
President Trump says he has set a deadline for making deals in Ukraine and Gaza, but won't say when it is. In Washington, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Lindsay is next with a complete look at your forecast, and later the return of travel bans.
New travel bans are about to kick in. I'm Doug Luzader. In Washington, we'll have more on President Trump's big announcement coming up.
Well, we are waiting on some storms to get going in the area. We're not quite out of severe weather season yet, although it does kind of feel like it. It was hot and muggy outside today. We're getting closer to summertime. Unfortunately, though, not quite yet. We are under a slight risk for severe weather, just clipping our area. But you can see the higher risk for severe weather is going to be out in our western Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas states. Now, central and southern counties are going to be in that level 1 out of 5 risk, with just a couple of our counties clipping that level 2 out of 5 risk. Not a huge threat, but we are going to keep an eye on that. Most of that moves in after midnight tonight. We've also got a big flood risk with our flood watch in effect for our central and southern counties through the next couple of days, through Saturday, because we've got ongoing rain chances, not just tonight, but also Friday night into Saturday morning. Now, clouds did break a bit as we went into later on in the afternoon and early evening, which does help create a little bit more instability in the atmosphere, but we had such wide cloud coverage through the afternoon hours that it did help slightly with our stability. Now, we're watching as these storms fire up and push into our area. You can see how it starts to die down once it gets right up to our western, southwestern counties. That's a good thing. That means we're under a stable air mass. However, we've got way more storms that are going to push into the area later on tonight that we're going to be watching. Now, clusters of thunderstorms do turn into more of a linear system, which means that we're mostly seeing a widespread rain and flood threat, and we could get a wind threat there as well. Now, this extends into Friday morning, about 7 to 8 in the morning. So well into the morning, we're going to see some stronger storms passing through the area, which indicates another slight risk, level 1 or level 2 out of 5 in our central and southern counties, right where our flood watch is. And then we have another round of storms coming in Friday night and into Saturday morning as well under that slight risk. Now, as we get these things moving into the area, again, they turn into this linear system, which means a line of storms that's going to push in. As it moves in to southeastern Kansas, they've already seen a high flooding threat over the last couple of days. So just more heavy rainfall until about 3 a.m. And then we're looking at this line pushing into the area. The initial part of that line is where we could see that hail threat, wind threat, and again, still heavy rain. But I also want to point out this little guy right here, an isolated storm that wants to pop up ahead of the line, might make it all the way up to just south of Joplin. So we want to keep an eye on that before the line then pushes in and overtakes it. But again, still heavy rainfall through the morning hours. This is now 6 a.m. The strongest part of this storm is right along I-44 up to the Joplin area, and then it'll continue to push out by about 7:30 to 8 a.m. Now again, we've got another round of storms moving in later in the night around 9 p.m. with another severe threat overnight. We could lead to another 1/4 inch to 4 inches of rainfall accumulation through Saturday. This is going to be because we've got that second round of strong to severe storms Friday night and into Saturday morning. After that, it drops down. We're looking at Sunday night storms, maybe some Monday night storms, but not a severe threat there. So we're looking better. We just have to make it through a couple more days.
And the good thing is I'm not going to have to water for a while.
Yep, there you go.
And I got my mowing done.
I have not yet.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, still ahead, the Oklahoma City Thunder host the Indiana Pacers for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Plus, the Cardinals and Royals wrap up their season series with a doubleheader. John Dales has those stories and more up next in sports.
Cardinals baseball live this season on
Crowder College softball put together an historic season this spring. In their first year under the direction of head coach Nikki Keck, the Rough Riders won 54 games, and they were one of the last 6 teams standing in the Junior College World Series. This week, 4 Rough Riders receive All-America honors from the NJCAA. Designated player Jasmine Myers and pitcher Jessica Smith, both of them are first-team All-Americans. Former Columbus Titan Katie Simpson is on the 3rd team All-America as an outfielder, along with utility player Maya Curry. Simpson and Smith are both freshmen, while Myers and Curry are sophomores. The Joplin Outlaws have been down in Sherman, Texas for a couple of days now, and they've yet to play a full game because of the rain. Tonight they play 2. The Outlaws lose that first one 10-6. That was a continuation of Tuesday's game, and it only went 7 innings. Things aren't looking great in the second game for Joplin. It was a scoreless tie for the first 5.5 innings, but Sherman scores 6 in the 6th. The score is not final. They're in the 7th inning. And after yesterday's game between the Cardinals and Royals got rained out, today we've got a doubleheader in St. Louis as well. Entering the day, the I-70 season series is tied at 2. Game 1 of the twin bill between the Royals and Cardinals. Leadoff man at the top of the first, Jonathan India, gets the scoring started. He crushes this pitch for a leadoff home run. Just like that, Kansas City takes a 1-0 lead. Top of the 4th, last year's 6th overall draft pick, Jack Caglione, looking for his first big league hit, and he gets it with a double down the right field line. A run will score as well, so that's an RBI double. His family loves it. That puts the Royals up 2-0, and they'll hang on to that baseball for safekeeping. Bottom of the 8th now, Cards down 1 until this swing of the bat from Ivan Herrera. That is gone for his 6th home run of the season. That puts the Redbirds in front, but we'd go to extra innings, tied at 4. Top 10 now. Vinny Pasquantino hits it up the middle. Mason Wynn can't make the play, so Michael Garcia comes around to score the go-ahead run. Once again, though, the Cardinals would respond after an RBI groundout ties it at 5. Wilson Contreras comes to the plate with the winning run on second, and he delivers a base hit into left center. That's a walk-off winner. Cardinals come from behind to beat the Royals. Final score 6-5. But the Royals, they've responded nicely in Game 2, and as we come on the air, they're almost finished in that contest. In the bottom of the 9th inning, Kansas City holds a 2-run lead. It's 7-5. Michael Garcia, big day for him. He's 2 for 3 with 3 runs, 2 RBI, and a home run. And the 2025 NBA Finals get started tonight down in Oklahoma City. The Thunder, they hope to take another step towards their first championship in franchise history since moving to OKC in 2008. It's getting towards the end of the fourth quarter of Game 1. The Thunder, they're in pretty good shape. Last check of that score has OKC leading 96-85 with just over 8 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter. Oklahoma City's defense has been incredible tonight. The Thunder have forced 23 turnovers, and 19 of those came in just the first half. That's it for sports. We're back right after this.
Are back. President Trump announces new restrictions on 19 countries that echo policies from his first term. As Doug Luzader reports from Washington, he says it's a matter of national security.
The first time around, the president's travel bans ran into a number of legal challenges. This time, the White House may be on better footing. The president says it was this attack over the weekend in Boulder, Colorado, that was a driving force in his new policy.
We've seen one terror attack after another carried out by foreign visa overstayers from dangerous places all over the world.
In a video posted last night to Truth Social, the president announced a travel ban on 12 countries and restrictions on 7 others. He says they lack adequate screening programs and that many of their citizens overstay visas. That was the case with the Boulder suspect, Mohammed Solomon, who rained fire on a group demonstrating for the release of Israeli hostages in Gaza. He's an Egyptian national who overstayed a tourist visa, although Egypt is not among those countries targeted by the new restrictions.
Our state thrives on refugees.
Democrats immediately blasted the new policy. One suggested it was racist.
I mean, it's pretty consistent with what his quote-unquote immigration policy is, which is just essentially to keep anyone who's not white out of the country.
The president, though, defended the move and said the list of countries could change if improvements are made.
We will not allow people to enter our country who wish to do us harm, and nothing will stop us from keeping America safe.
This new policy kicks in on Monday, giving federal agencies a little more lead time to implement the bans than they had back in 2017. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Will Ferrell's Eurovision hits Broadway, and Octavia Spencer's back for more terror action. Up next in Hollywood Nation. A survival thriller, a horror comeback, and a Broadway-bound comedy. Fox's Anna Yiolopoulos has those stories and more in today's Hollywood Nation.
I don't want to tell you where I am.
I want to be alone. Turner fights to survive. Ma brings more horror, and Ferrell trades the screen for bright lights in the Hollywood Nation.
Winning the Eurovision Song Contest.
Will Ferrell is going from Netflix to The Great White Way. He's adapting his 2020 film Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga, into a Broadway musical. The original film stars Ferrell and Rachel McAdams as an Icelandic singing duo with dreams of winning the world's most popular song competition.
Why are you doing this?
Octavia Spencer is coming back for more blood. Blumhouse has confirmed a sequel to the horror film Ma, with Spencer reprising her role as the murderous Sue Ann. In the original film, the unhinged killer lets teenagers party in her basement before unleashing a twisted revenge tied to her high school past. Jason Momoa and Andy Samberg are teaming up for their next project. According to Deadline, the duo will produce and star in a new action comedy for Netflix. Plot details are still under wraps, but the film will be set in Momoa's home state of Hawaii. In today's first looks, Sophie Turner gets trapped in a game of survival in the trailer for Trust. She plays a Hollywood starlet hiding out in a remote cabin after a scandal, only to discover she's not alone, and the one person she trusted may be out to destroy her. The film arrives in theaters August 22nd. Anna Yiolopoulos, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We are going to leave you with video of 5 newborn cheetah cubs at the St. Louis Zoo. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.